Dear participants, both remotely and here in Kaisaniemi, Helsinki, welcome to this event about future water management in Nordic cities. This event is organized by Nordic Innovation, which is an organization under the Nordic Council of Ministers. Nordic Innovation aims to make the Nordics a pioneering region for sustainable growth by promoting entrepreneurship, innovation and competitiveness in Nordic businesses. This event is part of the Nordic Council of Ministers Hub in Helsinki, where we discuss and share knowledge about climate solution and challenges. This hub hosts more than 40 events in the center of Helsinki, and today there has been already 2 different hubs. This is the 3rd one. Themes of these 40 events are connected to the 26th UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, currently taking place in Glasgow. My name is Riku Vahala, and I will act as a moderator of this event. My daily work is at Aalto University, Department of Built Environment, where I'm head of department and a professor in water engineering. Nordic countries have traditionally been strong in smart technologies, which we can nowadays benefit in circular economy and resource recovery. However, there is still a lot to do in achieving closed water loops, which today means not only water, but also valuables in water, such as energy and nutrients. Today, in connection with COP26, Nordic Innovation wants to discuss about water management in future Nordic cities in order to move closer to our vision of the Nordics as the world's most water-smart region. This event also supports our Prime Minister's vision for the Nordic region to be the most sustainable and integrated region in the world by 2030 by creating new collaborations. Our aim today is to contribute to moving towards more efficient and sustainable water management. Now, I have a privilege to introduce our first speaker, Ivonna Holbein from City of Oslo, where she acts as a coordinator of stormwater management. She will give us an example of water-related challenge that requires innovative solutions, collaboration and proper legislative framework. Ivonna, the floor is yours.
So, hello everybody. I would like to tell you a little bit about how we do it in Oslo, in Norway. And as you know, we have quite a lot of challenges. So I will just pick some few of them. And even if I'm a stormwater engineer, I'm working in the Agency for Planning and Building Services, which is some special in Norway. This is not the normal way to do it. Well, anyway, we have a lot to do. Yeah. So you can see we have had some cloudbursts in Norway too, not only in Copenhagen. It's not that big, but it was a lot of damage. Anyway, it was in 2012. This is one of the pictures, one of the examples. And we know that there will be even more frequency and more intensity of such cloudbursts, and we have to prepare for that. And this place is just 1 hour driving from Oslo. So, whoa, Oslo has to do something. And Oslo is a capital of Norway. Oh, not that. The last picture before. Well, I can't see it. Anyway, the city center can be flooded like this. The capital, Oslo, has 700,000 inhabitants, and it is surrounded by forests and rivers running down to the Oslo fjord. And when it is too much water flooding, it was the picture we have seen here. Yeah, where is the presentation? Well, because of the floodings, we have a lot to do. This is just in the center. Karl Johan is the main street in Oslo. That's how it looked like in 2013. So after that, we started to work on a strategy for stormwater management, which was adapted in Oslo in 2014, and that was followed by the action plan in 2019. The action plan that I would like to show you, you have seen it a little bit already. It has 5 chapters, this one, yeah, right. It has 5 chapters and it is 18 measures in the action plan. We have to improve our knowledge. We have to prevent consequences of stormwater overflow. We have to develop more model projects in Oslo, establish a closer cooperation with Oslo because there are many agencies working on this topic in Oslo. And we have to improve our information and guidance. That's very important, in fact, important. And the reason why to do it, well, we have to work in a unified way toward in a structured and unified way towards our common goals. And in this way, we will reduce the risk of flooding and use stormwater as added value in the urban development as we want to. And this is how we want to use it. It's a future in blue-green color and multifunctional. We want to get away from the pipes, or not, we have to use the pipes, of course, but we want to put more water on the surface, use it on the surface as an added value and contribution. We have to establish green roofs, rain gardens in the streets or trees. We have to open up the streams and make retention areas where we can. So in this way, it will also help to mitigate the risk of flooding. But there are many things that we don't know yet. We don't know where we can infiltrate, for example, and we don't know how much we can infiltrate anyway. And we don't know where are the risks from flooding. We are working on it, but we don't know yet. So we are working on a map that I will show you a little bit of. This is one of the actions in the action plan, cloudburst management plan, like they did in Copenhagen. We are following. And we know in Göteborg, they have something like that too. So we are working on it. It's based on a hydraulic simulation data model, Mike Flood, and this is the basis of the risk analysis. The Mike Flood model is based on both runoff from the surface, pipes, and the rivers, all 3 combined together in this Mike Flood model. And as you can see, there are 10 catchments which are put into the model. There are 9 rivers running down through the most densely and historical part of Oslo. And then we have also runoff directed to the Oslo fjord. And we can make maps based on this with depth and velocity. And we can make plans for risk reduction measures, floodways, and retention. That's what we are working on. We started with the project just last year in 2020, so we haven't got that far yet, but we can see some results of it. Another project or measure from the action plan is road and street norm of Oslo. This was adopted last year, and it was even award-winning project in Oslo. And this is a new way to think about the technical specifications for roads and streets, how the regulations could be used to make floodways, like you can see on the picture on the left. It's a floodway in a street, a big street in Drammen, not Oslo. And we have to accept that, that we need place for rain gardens, for trees in the streets. That will help us to get rid of the polluted stormwater runoff and to make the city greener, of course. some other measure is retention of stormwater on municipal property and public spaces. I can see some examples of that. We have, for example, here, some rain gardens and trees in a street called Torvald Meyersgate. It's quite new. Yeah. And one more project that I would like to show. I hope it will come. I try again. Well, not that easy, but I suppose it will come. It's also a retention area in open space along the park, where we can both using retention and infiltration in the soil below, so that it will be that we will get rid of the particles and the contamination in the runoff from the street. This is another part, but I would like to see something before that, if possible. Well, yeah, okay. Well, we have some other projects also in the schools, for example, where there is also sustainable water management realized. And then we have this blue-green factor norm, like in other countries or cities. We have also adopted it for 2 years ago. But it is also, it's only adopted in housing areas. It's not used other places. And now we are investigating if we can use something like that also in the other, like industrial places, areas, and in streets, parks, and squares, and so on. We are also working on strategy for green roofs and facades, which we have delivered to the City Council, and we hope it will be adopted in next year. And I took a picture of a nice green roof, which also was awarded a first prize in a special competition about it. And we are also working on opening the rivers. This is maybe that you have heard about Oslo already, opening rivers for 10, 15 years already. So we do as we can in the big areas where it is possible, where there are plans going on. There we open some of the rivers at least, usually with the pipe under anyway, but it helps. It helps for the cleaning up the polluted water and also in the environment, of course. There are also some other projects. As you saw, the action plan was adapted only in 2019, so we haven't had that long time yet working on it. We started with some projects, and few of them are going on, like the guidance for stormwater management. I'm a manager for that project. It will be a very important project, how to design the stormwater solutions according to the 3-step strategy for stormwater, like we call it in Norway. And we are also working on a communication strategy, which will also be followed by an action plan. And another project which is very interesting. Yeah, here we can see some of the creeks I was talking about, some open waterways. Yeah, and here are the ongoing projects, the guidelines for stormwater management, communication strategy for stormwater, which I think is also very important. We have to communicate much more about stormwater and adaptation. And we are also starting a project together with 8 other municipalities, the last one here, developing a digital system for map-based registration of established stormwater solutions, because we don't have any map where to put it. When it is finished, we don't know where it is. So this is a very important project, and we have got some money from the state so that we can continue and be finished perhaps next year. And you can see on the picture also one of the places we changed in a sustainable way. And the next picture should be how the map could look like. because the map, as I told you about the solutions, it's very important to put it in the map so that everybody knows that this place is not just it's a rain garden. It's not just flowers that can be taken away, or you can put a car there instead of. So this is very important, and also the maintenance. That's the reason we have to know where it is, and then we have to maintain it. So we have to make some guidelines according to maintenance around it. And we have some issues in Norway that we can't do that much as a municipality, unfortunately, and that's what we need national authorities to help us with. It's especially the financing. Without money we can't do that much. We can have some money from the municipality itself, but the financing for the stormwater solutions at all, totally, holistic financing, it's not any solution on that yet in Norway. They are talking about stormwater fee, but we have been talking a few years already and nothing happened. So I'm wondering if the new government will do something about it. And we also need more legislation, especially in the build-up areas, established areas, so that we can force through floodways. This is very difficult to get through in such places. That's why we also need much more communication about it. And there is also need for more guidelines from the national authorities, national guidelines. It would be very nice. Now we are working in municipal guidelines, but we are in front at least. And as I said, it's very much need for more focus on climate adaptation and, of course, stormwater from the national authorities. We don't have that much money and that many possibilities like they do. So they have to show up and show the way. So Oslo, as I said, is doing something. We are working on it, but we can't do the job alone. Without financing, needed regulations in build-up areas especially, and other support from the national authorities. So without these listed up critical measures, the stormwater system with floodways and retention areas won't be built. And Oslo will not be able to prepare for extreme rain and achieve its climate adaptation goals. That's really urgent. So it hurries, and we can just hope it will come. And I hope, and I wish you, all of us, good luck in this way. So thank you for attention.
Thank you, Ivonna. As an immediate response, I could say that in Finland we have already experience about stormwater fee, and you probably can collect some feedback about how it works and how it doesn't work. It's been a big debate. You have to pay for the rain, and it's not an easy task to introduce a stormwater fee. Also, there is a very good guidance available from the Water Association Finland and from the Community Association. They have developed the guidelines for technologies and stormwater management. So I think Nordic collaboration in this field would be very, very, very helpful.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Ivonna. From these pictures, we can easily understand the scale of challenges. We will have time for the questions later on that we are facing today and even more in the future. Water has critical role in channeling the impact of climate change, whether it's flooding, as here, or drought, meaning too much water or lack of water. So every city, community, regulator, utility needs to be better prepared to tackle these challenges. Ivonna showed us how City of Oslo has approached this challenge, but even being one of the richest countries in the world, it still has a lot to do to better manage increasing amount of extreme weather events. So next, hope you will stay there.
Okay.
Don't move. Next, we will move to panel discussion, and I will welcome our other panelists to the podium. First, I have a pleasure to welcome Mari Heinonen, who is currently working as a director of HSY's Water Investment Division. And HSY, am I correct? Wastewater, okay, because there are some changes going
Yeah,
on in
all the
HSY. But anyway, HSY is a regional water and waste management company providing services to more than 1 million people in this Helsinki region. And Mari has an extensive experience in managing wastewater services. So you are warmly welcome.
Thank you.
And secondly, I would like to invite Topi Helle to the stage. Topi is a managing director of Finnish Water Forum, which is a collaboration platform of 130 members. Is this correct number?
That's correct.
Consisting of companies, governmental and non-governmental organizations, scientific institutes, universities, water-related associations, very similar to like Danish Water Forum in Denmark. Okay, now we have the panel here, and I will start this panel discussion by first giving the floor to Ivonna. In your presentation, you demonstrated several technical solutions and other needs that are related to stormwater management. From your perspective, what are the priorities in water management and related infrastructure to consider in future city planning?
I think it's very important to have a strategy for all that, an action plan, and then it is much easier to be structured in working with the most prioritized areas, what to do. We have to look on both development areas, what to do, what we can do there, of course. We can use the spaces for infiltration and for retention, and so that they can do nice added value stormwater solutions. We need, of course, to change the roads to the floodways and parks to the retention areas. And we have to work also in the build-up areas where, like in the established areas where most of the city is established already, and that's what's very important to work also in these places, but it's difficult.
Is there enough space in the existing built environment for this kind of huge structures that are needed?
That's a good question, because it's very difficult, of course. And that's why we need also the legislation that will help us, and financing that will help us how to arrange it, how to adapt these areas, and communication, of course, to the private properties and the owners of them, so that they will understand the needs and can help us in working in the same direction, to be unified in this action.
Right. Similarly, I would like to ask, what the utility point of view to the most urgent needs? Mari, what do you think? Are they related to stormwater management infrastructure, or is there something more urgent from your perspective?
If we think about water utilities in Nordic countries, we tend to think that we have a lot of raw water, for example, and now when we have this phenomenon, most probably we have even more water resources for raw water point of view. But there is two challenges due to this.
And in this case, you mean raw water is the source water for drinking water abstraction?
Yes.
Right.
This climate change can affect the quality of the raw water. We're talking about a phenomena which is called as a NOM, which means natural organic matter, and actually the amount of this organic matter is increasing due to runoffs and this intensive raining phenomena which happening during these high wet weather conditions. And then on the other hand, we have even more drought, even drier and hotter summers, and we have already examples in Nordic countries that the communities actually suffering lack of raw water, and we are facing totally new kind of challenges due to that. And it's not only small islands or some areas which are very much close to coastal. It's even bigger and bigger nowadays, and we have to save water and think about water as a resource totally different way. So these are two let's say raw water related issues. Then of course we have to do quite a lot cooperation with the city planning to handle with this stormwater issue, where we have a common interest to have these retention areas and try to control amount of stormwaters to waste for the treatment plants, and also to the nature, which is the direct flow. And then the last one is this wastewater sector, which is suffering high fluctuation and these high loads, which is affecting then to quality of the wastewater, how we can handle and take care of this wastewater purification, but also it's causing also CSOs, so those overflows, direct overflows from sewage network, which is then causing pollution, and we have quite many different kind of aspects for this problem, and that way it's not easy to handle.
So it's not only stormwater
Not
management,
only,
it's also drinking water
Yes.
quality, drinking water quantity,
Yeah.
wastewater quality, and
Yes.
this amount of stormwater that is ending up to the
Yeah.
sewer system.
So very complex.
Very complex situation and a lot of impacts of climate change. My next question goes to actually to all the panelists, and we already heard quite many nice examples, but I would like to ask you one more concrete example of the future or current challenge which is related to urban water management and how you can prepare for this challenge. Topi, maybe you can start.
Okay, I could start. In the Nordic cities, the current challenge is aging network of the water distribution network,
Yeah.
and
They are even older than we are.
exactly, some of them are over 100 years old, and as a result, there's a lot of leakages, and one way to cope with this is digital solutions to follow flow and monitoring the flow and to reduce the water losses. And in addition, there is a challenge with the asset management. We need to know what kind of pipe material is where and how old it is, and try to figure out in what order we should replace this old piping. So that's a big challenge now and in the near future.
So using the smart technologies would help us to better manage our underground assets, to reduce leakages and to better understand the condition of the assets. Is that correct?
Yes, that's how we see. We see that water leakages we can follow up with monitoring the flow and pressure and trying to find out where the leakages are. And then another way to utilize the digitalization is to have to know what kind of piping is in which location. So it's easier for the maintenance to know in which order to start.
Right. And do you think that there is already enough regulations and legislation in place to ensure that this will be done in the future? Do the utilities have enough resources? Do the companies have enough technology to, or do you see is there a need for improvement of the regulatory framework or some ways to ensure financing? Maybe this question should go to utilities, but what is from the company perspective?
Yes, I think that there is technology available, and the challenge is now that it will be used, and so I think there should be more regulation used to that cities will invest in the aging pipe network.
So you are a bit afraid that once it's not visible, the bad condition of the pipes is not so interesting from the political decision-making point of view.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Topi. Next, Ivonna, would you like to give another example or maybe have a little bit more concrete example?
You mean the challenges, right?
Challenges, right, exactly.
We have a lot of them, so...
Yeah.
yeah, as you heard, I've depict some of them, which are on the national level, and we really need the money. I have to say it once more. We need the money and we need the legislation that will help us to do anything with stormwater. But on the municipal level, as I said, we are also working on a project which is also very needed, because we don't know where the stormwater solutions are. I don't know if you have such a map in Finland or in Sweden or other places. I would like to know about it. If you can see something more than just the pipes. The pipes we have in the map, constructions we have, yes, right. But what about rain gardens, green roofs, and retention areas, and when it is running down to the rivers and so on? We have to see all the connection. We have to see all the catchment, how it is organized, and what capacity it has, and how it works together. So this is one challenge that we are working on.
Right. Okay. If there's any network information system company in the audience, contact Ivonna. She's a good client.
I'd like to get some ideas from the others. And of course the maintenance, which is the next part of it. When we put it into the map, we have to make some regulations according so that everybody would maintain its stormwater solution. Now we don't know if it is maintained or not. We know the pipes are maintained, but not all the private and municipality-owned stormwater solutions.
Yeah,
we don't
and
know
it
anything
looks
about
like
it.
some of these nature-based solutions are quite heavy to maintain, because you have to
Maybe not that
keep
much,
it in
but
good...
we don't know that much about it yet.
Right. Okay. Mari, would you like to give, or maybe a little bit more pinpoint one of those challenges?
I think I have raised up this financing issue, because at least in Finland it's not so self-evident that we have money for all of these needs for the future. We have other needs also, not only these climate change related issues. We have needs for improve quality of treated wastewater, and a lot of discussions what kind of things we should do for wastewater in the future, even though that it's already now purified quite well. There is need for purification of medical compounds or microplastics, and more we know, more we want, and that's the dilemma, how to finance this complex issue related to stormwaters, related to wastewaters, related to drinking water, and also this depth of renovations due to long historical decisions. They haven't been renovated that fast as they should. So what I think is if we here in Nordic countries think about money and how we will invest and make these things happening in the future, how this is going to happen in the countries where they do not have that much money as we have here. So I think that's the very important issue, how much we want to pay. That's one question, and how these huge investments will be financed.
Yeah, I was just going to ask whether it should be quite easy for you. You have a lot of customers who are paying water bill, and you just raise the price. But
it's not
obviously,
so
it's not so easy, especially politically. It's not always acceptable to have high raises in what you pay for water and wastewater services. And especially stormwater issue is even more complex, because not everybody is using these services equally. Right. Okay, let's go forward. In the beginning of this event, I mentioned that Nordic Prime Minister's vision for the Nordic region is to be the most sustainable and integrated region in the world by 2030. And this would be done by creating new collaborations, namely within and across ideas, industries and markets. Topi, what kind of collaboration we need between different stakeholders to improve our water management? You are a platform of networking.
Yes, to begin with, the industry and technology suppliers must be talking to the municipalities to know the real needs, what is really needed. And then when new technology are developed, it should be done together with the end users, municipalities and the industry. And finally, when there are new solutions, they should be piloted and tested together with the end user, which is the industry or municipalities, together with the technology suppliers. So there's a need for cooperation from the very beginning to the end.
So you would like to see municipalities to be a test bed for new technologies?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Mari, immediate response. Is it a good idea?
Yes, and we are already now working as a test bed, so we are open for all kind of new tests. And on the other hand, then I'm also I would like to be able to also give a sort of output for the tests if it sounds not if it sounds such that it's for example not maybe exactly what we are looking for but close, then I would like to see that kind of discussion also, that we are really developing together something which is needed. Sometimes they are stepping a bit close but not exactly up to our needs, so that kind of open discussion and development, and that's what we have done also.
Right. Ivonna, what kind of collaboration is needed from your perspective?
I think there is needed much of collaboration in all the levels. We have to collaborate on the highest level with the decision makers. We have to collaborate within the municipality, because we have few agencies working on the topics of stormwater management, like pipe system. There are organizations working with the parks and roads, and we are the planning organization. All together they have to go unified towards the same target. And we have to collaborate with the citizens too. We have to work with them, because they're especially in the build-up areas, established areas, we have to communicate and collaborate, make the vision for the area, for the catchment, make a plan, prioritize, and talk to them, make them to decide to do something on their properties too, so that they will help us with all the amount of water that we expect in this intensive rainfalls. And we need also, of course, collaboration between the cities and countries, like we do here. So this would be very nice if we could start some more collaboration with especially the cities which are some in front somehow. We have surely a lot to talk about, I would say. So this is something that I would really like to know more about. And one more thing that is also started in Oslo is cooperation within the production chain. Because when you are working on a stormwater solution, then somebody is designing it, then somebody is producing it, entrepreneur putting in the land, in the ground, and then somebody is maintaining it. And all this production chain should talk more together, so that the result will be better solutions.
Right.
We see that there are many failures, many mistakes done, and it can be just a runoff which is not flowing in the right direction to the established stormwater solution. So, so that's a lot to do yet.
Yeah, that's what I try to teach to my students on the first day, that usually water flows downwards, except if you have a pump.
Yeah.
So this is a starting point for my lectures. It starts sounding like the collaboration is even more demanding than technology alone. So technology seems to be the most simple part of the problem, but there is a lot of other things. And we can see that this kind of situation not only provides opportunities for collaboration, but also provides new kind of business opportunities for companies. Topi, what are the most potential business opportunities and even new business models that are related to water management in a changing world?
Yes, when we have new innovations, we should usually start with domestic applications. They are easier to start with, because usually when you have a new solution, you need to do a lot of development. It doesn't work just like that. And after we have a successful reference in our own country, then it's time to go abroad, especially in Scandinavia, when
Do you have already good examples of this kind of approach, where we have first developed the technology here and then we go abroad with the technology?
Yes, I think that's usually how we have done. Our home market is so small.
I can name one. Flotation technology used to be that kind of technology. Dissolved air flotation was developed first in Finland, and then now it's used worldwide.
Yes, there's plenty of these technologies that have started in Finland and then gone outside, and that's a must for the Finnish companies. Our home market is far too small to develop new technologies. We have to go very quickly abroad.
Right. And probably the same is true for Sweden, Norway, Denmark. Right. Okay. Next one goes to Mari. If we think about the challenges that are related to circular economy in water, whether they are energy recovery from wastewater, nutrient recovery from wastewater, or even closing the water loop, what does it require to achieve this kind of ambitious goals in the Nordic countries?
Closing the loop in a global point of view, it normally means closing the loop of water circle. But
it just means how small the loop is.
Yeah, it depends.
Globally, it's always closed.
Yeah, but it's nowadays more and more we are calling our wastewater treatment plants as a resource recovery plants, and the wastewater is full of resources, and already nowadays we are quite widely recovering energy from the wastewater, both biogas-based energy but also heat energy, and that way the energy of the society, for example here in Helsinki, the heat of our showers and our domestic use is utilized again after the wastewater treatment plant, and nearly 100,000 people or population equivalent is actually utilizing the heat again in a society due to this heat recovery after the
so good news is that not all the warm water that you are using in shower is wasted.
Yeah, but don't tell it for your kids. It's better to keep it as a secret for them when they have grown up bit. But anyway, that's a good news. We are not losing the heat to the sea, for example. And then, of course, for example, in Helsinki Viikimäki wastewater treatment plant, it's 97% self-sufficient with the electrical energy. So we are running the whole plant with the energy of wastewater, and that way, and it's green energy, non-fossil energy, and that's the case also in other Nordic countries. In Sweden, for example, this energy is released for the buses quite commonly, and the buses are running based on that energy. And then, of course, the water itself is good question, and we already have, as I mentioned earlier, some cases, some communities who are really suffering the lack of water and clean water, and that's one possibility: close the loop of the water and use the water again and again. And we have already examples of that type of recovery of water itself in Singapore, in Australia, in some Arabic countries which suffering the lack of water. That's one possibility, of course. Then we have nutrients, and at the moment we are recovering nutrients based on the sludge products, and we are that way recycling the nutrients, phosphorus and nitrogen. But more and more we need, let's say, more better formed nutrient compounds which can be used like the fertilizers which you can buy from the shop, and that type of development is going on, and we have examples in Nordic countries also for that kind of development in Copenhagen, and we have our own research works here in Helsinki too, so we try to develop sort of nutrient products. And then in the future, I think we have more and more needs also for recovering the minerals from the wastewater. So we have a lot of metals, some kind of very tiny amounts, but when the water amount is huge, then the balances are quite interesting. And also sort of rare earth metals, which are also very expensive and very difficult to find new ones. So that way there is different kind of loops which you can close in a wastewater side.
Right. Is it going to be a coal mine or?
Might be.
Interesting. We can see that there is already quite a lot of solutions in use, and there is a lot of potential in the new solutions for material and energy recovery. Yeah, good news. Finally, before giving the floor to the audience, who is very excited to ask questions from our great panel, I would like to come back to our keynote presentation, which very nicely illustrated the urgent need to better adapt to the changing climate. And one of the themes that Ivonna raised in her presentation was communication. How can we increase awareness of the public about the topics related to climate adaptation and the need for climate-proof, resilient solutions?
Well, you said it already. It's communication. It's much better communication about the climate adaptation and all the dangers coming with it, like stormwater issue, and also the droughts and fires and so on. There are a few of them. So all this has to be communicated in a way that it will be understood by the people there. That it has to be not just text, it has to be pictures, videos on websites, and more active communication in media, newspapers, everywhere. So put adaptation on the agenda from the national authorities and, of course, municipalities. We can do as much as we can, but not more. But all the national authorities, they have to support us and to do better than they do today.
Right. Okay.
People have to understand it. They will not do anything without understanding it and without having it very easy. They know how to do the solutions, how they can do it themselves in their garden or in the surroundings, what will help.
Right.
And how much it costs, of course. Yeah.
Right. So everybody can do their share in this
right.
context.
We have to share.
Right. Okay. Now we have time for questions and comments from the audience. Unfortunately, not for you who are remotely. We don't have any way to connect you here. Unless you have friends here, you can call and ask the questions through your friends, but I don't know if it works. But now we have the first question. Maybe you introduce yourself shortly and then have a question or comment, and we find the right answer from the panel.
Perfect. So my name is Max Bonnier Eklund, and I'm from Sweden, working in the Swedish Parliament as of now. But before I did that, I was working in the Gothenburg municipality, as you brought up before, with the stormwater strategy. So that's fun. And I just want to ask you, regarding that stormwater strategy, how have you guys been working with the synergies of the blue and green infrastructure with, for example, biodiversity, carbon sinks, and mental health?
Well, we know it is important, all the areas that you depict here. But we were using it, for example, in the strategy for green roof and facades. We are focusing on it, and a little bit in all the solutions, but not in a structured way, maybe. But we want to put all the blue-green infrastructure in the map, and see how we can use, for example, more trees also in the streets. It's also a very important project. And thinking about biodiversity and the bees and all this, how it works in the nature, and to have more nature in the city.
Yeah, for me as a head of Department of Built Environment, this sounds like a multidisciplinary research project where you have to have a holistic understanding of the benefits of the green structures, whether they are for stormwater management or for some other purposes. And there's clear evidence that once you have some green areas near your apartment, you feel better than the ones who don't have this kind of green area. And this is very clear evidence from the research for that. Very good question. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Ingemann. I'm from Monday Morning think tank based in Copenhagen. So thank you for your interesting talks here. One of the things that I found very interesting was your different perspectives on the need for collaboration across different sectors and across different stakeholders in this area. So I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, is there a need for political decision makers or policy makers to sort of step up and incentivize this kind of collaboration across institutions and across sectors? And if so, do you have any good examples of this already taking place?
Who would like to take this? A bit tricky question. Maybe Ivonna, you've been thinking about this.
Well, we have even a project about incentives that we were applied for. So we know that it's needed, and we need the decision makers, of course. We have to discuss, we have to find the right solutions together to cooperate. And incentives are really needed, especially in the build-up areas, established areas, which is most of the city. We can't do that much there. Legislation is fine, it's wonderful, but we need also incentives and more communication, and all these together with more resources from municipality that can work on this part of such projects like that, for example. This would help. It's really needed.
In a way, there are two approaches. One is that there is some benefit from doing things together, so you earn something which you cannot earn alone. It's kind of called maybe incentive. And then there's the other way to make things very difficult and complicated, and you cannot solve the problem alone, and you need to get together. But probably the way to just force people to work together doesn't work. It's like if you are forced to marry someone, usually it doesn't last long, depending on culture, of course. But this is the way. And what we see here, maybe Topi, you would like to comment more, is that collaboration can create more than working alone.
Yes, I would like to continue. I think we have good collaboration between municipalities and the technology suppliers, but we feel that there could be even more. And one challenge is that when we are having really new technologies and ideas, that is extra work for the municipalities, and of course that is difficult to carry. So we would like to see some financial support from the authorities for new technologies, implementation and piloting. That would help to develop new technologies.
Right. I think that kind of funding is somehow available in all the Nordic countries, like we have Business Finland, and I don't know the other countries exactly, the mechanism, but this kind of collaboration is somehow promoted. Good news is that utilities don't compete with each other, normally, at least in technology. Maybe the inhabitants, maybe they try to all attract them to live in their own place, but in general, utilities don't compete with each other. It's only companies who are competing. So it's a good starting point for collaboration, that we can share our experiences, we can share our good ideas, and this way develop solutions for these really big challenges. I think we have time for one more question or comment. I know there's a lot of questions in the other side. Okay, one more.
So in Sweden we usually have the treatment of wastewater, and we want to put out the sludge on the fields as manure, but we have a problem with the cadmium. How do you guys in Finland work with the cadmium problem?
Now you have an expert here, Mari.
Yes. I think we have a quite similar quality of sludge what comes to cadmium in Finland and in Sweden. We both have done very long and very effective work with industrial, so-called upstream control, as we call it. And in Finland, the cadmium itself hasn't been the question like you have had in Sweden. So I think we are more discussing today, and I think it's also in Sweden nowadays, about the other critical compounds like medical compounds and sort of
Persistent organic.
Yes, persistent
pollutants.
organic pollutants, so-called micropollutants. And then it's a really difficult risk assessment question. Should we use sludge in the fields or not? Today we use, and the risk is evaluated to be so small that it can be used, like you have in Sweden. You have the REVAC system, which is controlling the quality, and we have the similar system in Finland. So that way, based on that analysis, we still continue, but debate is going on.
This was a very good example of the approach that is needed when we go more towards circular economy, where we have to understand the risks, we have to manage the risks, and sometimes we also need to do some compromises. And this is the reality. We can nowadays measure lower and lower concentrations of all kind of pollutants in this planet, and we have to understand that there are more than 100,000 chemicals in the environment, and we cannot afford to measure all of them. We have to find out what are the most critical ones. We have to control the most critical ones, and we have to develop measures to measure the net effect of these compounds to manage the risks related to closing more and more the water cycle, whether it's sludge or water. But this was a very good example of one single pollutant that exists in sludge and how it might become a big issue in the public discussion. Right. Time is flying. I'm afraid I have to close this event. Today we have heard some examples of water-related challenges that need not only technical solution but also good regulatory framework and tools to ensure financing of transition. Ivonna discussed about the stormwater management. Topi was mentioning the challenge of asset management, and Mari was talking about other impacts of climate change, like drinking water abstraction, quality and quantity, wastewater treatment challenges, combined sewer overflows, etc. But what is common between all these challenges is that their scale continues growing, and they must be taken seriously. There are uncertainties, for example, in the climate change impacts, that are asking for resilient solutions. Nordic countries have the know-how, we have the resources to continue driving the transition towards climate-adapted water management. And our solutions may be adapted elsewhere as well. But as everywhere in our life, technology alone is not the solution. We need collaboration, we need new business models, we need innovative regulatory framework, which accelerates adoption of new climate-proof technologies. And we need better communication to change people's behavior. Let me finally take this opportunity to thank Nordic Innovation. Thank you, Hege, Lena, Hanna, Rasmus, about organizing this event. I also want to thank all the panelists here and the audience here and there. This event was, as mentioned in the beginning, I think this event has been recorded, and if you joined later on, you couldn't follow from the beginning, you can go to nordicinnovation.org and listen and see this from there later on, maybe not immediately. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.